Miss Miller. Anita.
Mr. Flaharty.
Okay. So, where are we heading off to right now?
We're heading off to Taylor High School in North Bend, Ohio. 35 East North Bend, Ohio, as a matter of fact. So,
Then you're going to
we're
speak.
going to go down there and speak at a high school assembly with apparently a whole entire school, and as well as theoretically politicians, dignitaries, and a couple hundred veterans. That's the report that I've been told. So.
And who do we have here? We have Mike.
Hoorah.
Are you excited?
Very excited.
In your fatigues. I don't think I've ever seen you in your fatigues.
Yep.
So
didn't cut enough weight for the blues yet. So rocking out the fatigues. Probably one last time and go impress these people at North Bend so we can keep it traveling around Cincinnati, and it's a wrap.
Anita is the artist and creator of the Eyes of Freedom. She began the work in 2005 after she received a vision in the middle of the night of the memorial as you will now see it. After 2.5 years, it was completed and installed in the Ohio State House Rotunda with the families of the fallen Marines in attendance, as well as 2,000 other guests. Just as she saw in her vision, the memorial now travels around the country and is supported by a wonderful, dedicated team of volunteers. Anita still paints and teaches painting in her studio. Anita Miller.
I got a C in high school art just to, level the playing field. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the story of what happened with me and why it matters, or may matter, to you. In 2005, it was August, and the newspaper came out, the August 4th paper, August 5th paper, and the list of a bunch of men from Lima Company. Lima Company stands for L Company, like C Company stands for Charlie Company. So I didn't know that at that time. I had no connection with any military. My dad had served in World War II, but that was the only connection I had. I didn't know anyone in the military, and I watched the newspaper, but it really was that day when I saw the newspaper and I saw all those guys, and I started to think, oh man, every one of those guys has a family, has a brother and a sister and a mother, and they are shattered right now. And the more I thought about it, the more my heart just started to tear, like so many other people's tore here in Ohio and around the country, because these men represent 7 different states. It's not just Ohio, although most of them were from Ohio. I thought, oh, if I could just do something to help those families. I couldn't think of anything to do. And the phone called and the day started again, and that moment of time that just started again. And you've had moments like that when all of a sudden everything stops and you have a cry of your heart to somewhere, not even knowing where it's going, but it goes somewhere. 2 months later, I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw the memorial. I saw it in an octagon. I saw people walking in and around it. The scale, the frames, the paintings, the boots, the candles. I saw people walking around and leaving gifts and leaving flowers and taking their children. I saw them walking around inside the Ohio State House, and then I saw the whole thing being picked up and moved. And it woke me up. And I thought, cool. Crap. I can't do that. But there was a powerful sense of love that came along with it. And this feeling like I was supposed to be doing something with it. And I went to bed, back to bed, thinking, oh, I hope this thing disappears in the morning, just like most dreams or most visions or whatever. And in the morning, it was right there, right in front of my face. So I went to the grocery store. like any normal person would do. I bought peanut butter, white bread, milk. I thought that would make me normal and this thing would stop. But it was right here, right here. And wherever this thing came from, I said, I can't do this. I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, I don't have the money, I don't have the expertise. I'm not that good of a painter. I don't know anyone in the military. I wouldn't have any way to get it into the Ohio State House. I can't do this. Nice idea, whoever gave it to me, but I can't do this. Right there. All day long, all night long, the next day, the next day, the next day. So, that feeling of love accompanied it the next day and the next day and the next day. And it has ever since. And I heard a little voice that said, just draw it. Just draw it. It's okay, just draw it. I thought, well, that's safe. I can draw it. Huh. Just so you know, that could be a trick. So, when something is out there in the ethers and it wants to come down into the earth, it needs something physical. It needs you and me. So I used my skill as a painter. But there's stuff floating around in the ethers out here. There's love floating around in the ethers. There's hate floating around in the ethers. There's all kinds of stuff floating around out there. What is it that each one of us wants to channel through our hands? So I was fortunate. I got to paint these paintings, and in the process I got to know people like the Crooters. I got to work with the families and the men that came back. And I had one of the most beautiful and profound experiences of my life as I made the choice to say, I don't know how, but I'll try. So it wasn't convenient. It wasn't easy. I never made a penny. I worked as a volunteer. All of us are volunteers. And for 2.5 years, it was right here. And the day that it was unveiled in the State House, it moved. And it was just like I could see back to my normal life again. So my challenge for you is to ask yourself the question, when you're being called to do something that may not be convenient, but it's the right thing to do, what do you do with that? And what do you do if you don't do something with it? Because you might have to live with yourself. One of the reasons that I decided to go ahead and make the memorial, even though I didn't know how, and I didn't know how in the world I was going to achieve it, my deciding factor was this. What happens if I go through all my life and I always wonder, if I didn't do this, what would my life have been like if I had? So every moment of every day, you have tiny moments, tiny decisions. Should I help this person in the hallway? Should I be kind to this lady on the street? All these little opportunities to bring kindness and joy to the people around us might make a huge difference that you don't even know. So, when you look into the men's eyes up there, I know some of you have already seen them, and some of you have already helped, and I'm really grateful for you for taking the time and trouble to do that. Because Pat Murray worked really hard to get these paintings here. And it was a confirmation for her to see your enthusiasm to help. So when you look into their eyes, those men up there, they did more than just be inconvenienced. They gave everything they had. And I would venture to say that they knew going in that that was the risk. And they did it anyway. So they died for me and for you. And as a result of that, we need to do something in response. Even if it's just helping the lady across the street or the kid in the hallway, something in response. So now the paintings are traveling around the country. And it's so fun for me to see that I don't have to ask the question, geez, what if I hadn't done, should I have not done it? No way. It was the right thing to do. So I don't know what it is for you, but service takes many different forms. For me, it was painting. For Mike and for the guys at the Lima Company, it was the military. But service extends past the military into just kindness, and that's also service. Not everyone's called for the military, but we're all called for kindness. Thanks.